Coming up on the Wisconsin Vegetable Gardener, we're going to plant some of our leeks and some Hamburg rooted parsley in this raised berm that we have prepared. And we'll try our luck at spring turnips, something that we've not been very successful, but we're going to do it in a raised bed and see how it turns out. All that and more coming up today on the Wisconsin Vegetable Gardener. The Wisconsin Vegetable Gardener is sponsored by the following. MIgardener.com, over 300 varieties of non-GMO, heirloom, organic flowers, vegetables, and herb seeds, all for 99 cents. MIgardener.com. Sioux Growing Supply, located in Wausau, Wisconsin, focusing on certified leaf compost, an excellent amendment for poor soil. With their new garden blend, improving soil structure in clay and sandy soil, great for creating new garden beds. Also available from Sioux's, pre-filled trays and pots with professional potting soil mix or organic rice hull-based potting soil mix. Bag and bulk of certified leaf compost also available. Visit SiouxGrowingSupply.com. Stop before you dig. Call Digger's Hotline first. Call 3 business days before you dig. It's the law. It's completely free and it's for your safety. Know what's below before you dig. It's your responsibility. Call Digger's Hotline or visit them at diggershotline.com. HappyLeafLED.com. Commercial grade grow light with a home gardener's affordability. No fans, no motors. Simply plug in and grow. Great for seed starting to lettuce to full grown tomatoes. All indoors. HappyLeafLED.com.
Sustain Natural Fertilizer, offering superior organic plant foods that deliver research-proven results. Trusted by farmers, growers, and gardeners for 30 years. Learn more at sustain.com.
Welcome to the Wisconsin Vegetable Gardener. I'm Joy Baird. Well, today we're going to plant some of our leeks, some parsnips, as well as some Hamburg rooted parsley, which resembles parsnips, but the top portions are not edible, and the roots are used in flavorings and soup and stews. So it's a new variety in which we are growing this year. What we have here, and these leeks here, we started many months ago in our 1-gallon root maker grow bag here, and they are ready to go out. What we have here is a 4 by 10 foot bed here that I've worked. I've weeded it. I've used a garden fork and not a tiller, removed all the roots that I can remove out of it. Now what we're going to do is we're going to top dress it with 4 cubic feet of certified leaf compost from Sioux Growing Supply. I've got this divided out 4 foot or 5 foot here with these just sticks, just so I know. Now in the process of growing or working this bed, I know which end is more loose, less clay than the other end, and that's vital because the leeks we can plant in an area where it's a little more densely packed than the root crops, the parsnips and the parsley there. So this end here is more densely packed in soil structure and has more clay than the high end here, the end closest to you. So what we'll do is we'll plant down here the leeks, up there the parsnips and the rooted parsley. So all we're going to do is just going to dump out the compost here. Also, what I've included in this bed already is about close to 4 gallons of used coffee grounds in the bed here, and I'll work them in. So I'm going to dump this out, and then we'll smooth it out, and then we'll get planting. Okay, so I've got this all about 1/2 to 1 inch covered in compost. Now what's going to happen here is as it rains, it's going to penetrate down and going to feed the soil. It's going to work itself in the soil. So we're fine with that. What we're going to do is plant some leeks here. Now leeks, most people believe or are taught that leeks, the white bleached portion at the bottom is the edible portion, which is sort of true. The whole plant can be eaten. People may not think about that. A lot of people will dry the top green portions, dehydrate them, and then use them as a seasoning in soup, stews, or other dishes. So we've got several hundred leeks here that we have started, and we're going to space them approximately 8 inches apart. So I'll plant one there, put another space, plant one here, because what we want to keep in mind is the end result, not what it looks like now, but what it will look like in 3, 4 months. So true, it looks fine now, but we're looking at a stalk that's going to be approximately 18, sometimes 24 inches tall, and as big around as a broom handle in the end. So we want to have plenty of space. Now there's different ways in which you can plant these leeks. I've just got a normal twig that's fell out of the tree, and I'm just going to go down and I'm going to make a hole, waddle the hole out, go down about 3 inches, and I'm going to take a cluster of these leeks here and pull them out, and we're going to use them here. I could dump this whole thing out, but then I know I'm not going to use all these leeks, so then I have to put them all back in. So I'm just going to grab in the side here, loosen the soil up, and just pull them out gently. And there's going to be some root tearing simply because there's so many of these that are in the container. Okay, so unlike onions, when we plant them, we want to trim the top quarter of the onion off. Leeks, we do not want to do that because that will affect the development of the plant. So what we're wanting to do here is just take a leek, the nice specimen. You don't want to plant these from seed in the garden. You want to get these starts from your garden center and plant them if you haven't started them already. So what we'll do is we'll take the leek and bury it, put it all the way down the hole, and then when we water, it'll backfill, and I'll pull this back out to show. Everything below my fingers will be under the soil, and the process is that will be eliminated from sun exposure and will turn white. So that's what we're going to do. You can twist the roots around, you can shove them in there, as well as at the time of harvest, all this top portion is edible too. So I'm going to get these planted, and then we'll come back and we will get the parsnips planted as well as the parsley root planted as well. All right, so I've got half the bed done of leeks, and that's all we're going to plant in this bed. That's 30 leeks we have. Now we have a lot of leeks left over in the grow bag, which is not a problem. We've got plenty of spaces in which we can put leeks. Leeks will also work in containers too, but you just want to make sure you have enough depth in order to get a lot of that bleaching action to occur. And leeks here, we've got, I think we got about 4 in 1 square foot. So if you got a little space here or a little space there, leeks will work very well. And again, if you have problems growing onions, leeks is a great alternative because you don't have to worry about the bulbing. You just have to get the stalk thick, and we have never had any problem making that happen. So now on the front end of the bed here, this 5 by 4 area, the 20 square feet, we are going to plant 2 different items here. We're going to plant traditional parsnips, which if you're not familiar with parsnips, it is a white carrot-like crop that can get very, very long and very, very large, and it has a nutty flavor. It's a very distinct flavor. If you're uncertain if you like parsnips or will like parsnips, buy one at the store. It doesn't have the as intense flavor as a fresh parsnip, but it'll give you an idea whether or not you want to invest some space in growing them, as well as some rooted parsley. Now the seeds here do not look anything like parsnips, though the actual root itself is what you're saving. The tops are not eaten, and it looks very similar to parsnips. It can flavor soups and stews, and you save them the same way you would save turnips. So want to keep that in mind if you don't want to, deciding whether or not how many you want to plant of each. So what we're going to do is, obviously we're going to plant some of these. We're going to plant probably 2 rows on the spacing 1/4 inch depth, and the back of the package says rows 12 inches apart, takes 18 to 30 days to germinate, and you want to space the seeds 1 inch apart. So I'm going to go a little bit better than that. I'm going to go 3 inches apart so I don't have to thin. And the parsnips, I've got 2 different seeds here. I've got some from 2013 and I've got some from 2014 is what the bag indicates here. Now the rule of thumb with parsnips is 1 year of seeds is all they're good for, which we have found that that has not been the case, because we had some very old seeds which we planted very thickly, and we had tremendous germination. So we will do the same here to use up these seeds. Instead of planting one every 3 inches, we're going to plant about 4 or 5 every 3 inches to get a good stand, because we know that the germination of these seeds are very strong, even though the book or the internet or other gardeners say 1 year, get rid of them old seeds and start new. So here's what we're going to do. You can mark these as you want, just so you know what you're dealing with here. And I'm going to take and make a row in this fresh compost with the parsnip roots, or the parsley roots. We don't have to go too deep, 1/4 inch. So I'm going to do a couple of rows of those and space them a little tighter, intensely plant them, space them a little tighter than 12 inches. That's a little deeper than I want. All right. And then I'll plant the parsnips the same way. And the parsnips are going to take a little some time to germinate as well. I'm going to space them the same way, about 8 inches. And see, I just ran into a clod of dirt here, which I'm going to break up. But this compost, as it penetrates down, it'll help loosen that up. Go there. Okay, we'll just, and I want to mark these because not all of these, I want to be able to know what I'm getting into when I harvest them. And these will take 80 to 100 days. Parsnips will take about 100 days as well. Very small seeds here. They look like parsley seeds. That's what they actually look like. So I'm just going to take and do my best to space them. I will have to thin these out because these are much smaller than the parsnip seeds. And you just go ahead and go through just like this and plant them like normal. And then when we get done, we'll just cover the seeds up. And we want to mark these if you want to know exactly, because I believe, based on all the information I'm seeing, the parsnips will look like parsnips, and the parsley roots will have a parsley looking like top, which is not eaten. So leeks, parsnips, parsley roots, all can be planted in your garden. They can be planted in containers as well as in the ground. I would caution you with the parsnips and the parsley root. If you're going to do it in a container, be sure you do it in a container like the size of a half of a whiskey barrel, because you want very dense, thick, long roots. And if you're just doing it in a shallow container, you're not going to maximize what those plants will potentially or could potentially give you. Swiss chard is an easy crop to grow and resembles the beet or beetroot based on your region and the terminology. If you like spinach, Swiss chard is a great alternative because it does not go to seed as quickly. It doesn't go to seed at all, no matter how hot the temperatures get or the day length is compared to spinach. So we've got 2 different varieties here. We've got a rainbow mix and we've got a fork hook giant, or a white stem. They come in many different colors, in stock colors, but it really depends on what you like. Some of them sometimes can grow faster than the others. So we're going to start, we've already got some started here, and we're also going to plant some directly in the ground. Now, either way, you may, unlike beets and Swiss chard both have cluster seeds, which means one seed contains multiple seeds inside that one seed, and with beets you need to thin them in order to get a single plant for one bulb. Swiss chard, my recommendations is don't thin them, allow them all to just grow as normal. So we're going to intensely plant the Swiss chard that we have already got started. Now it indicates that you want to go about 1 inch spacing in rows 18 inches apart, because these plants, you can harvest them at any time, but 50 to 65 days is when they really get big, and these will get 12, 18 inches towering tall. So we are going to plant them very, very close together. I may move these just a little bit in order to get just a little more space, and then I can fill out 2 rows here. I may do that. I think that'll work just fine. So I'm planting them much closer than what is recommended because I want to intensely plant. We've got this raised bed here, 4x4 by 12 by Root Maker, and it's got it filled with good certified leaf compost from Sioux Growing Supply. So what I'm going to do is, each one of these are at different stages of growth. So I'm just going to dig a hole here. I'm not adding any fertilizer right now. I may come in and add fertilizer later, but this is good nutrient-dense, rich soil, so we don't have to add anything. So I'm just going to gently remove them out of the cup and then just drop it at the best I can, ground level as it was in the container. And then these have been hardened off, and these will perk up here in the next couple of days. And I'll do another one here, and then I'll get all of these planted. And you can do this. You can do this in a container. You can do this in a raised bed, as we are here, or in regular ground. It doesn't matter, and you don't have to get them from. You don't have to start them. You can certainly just plant them from seed, as we will in just a moment. So I'll get these planted, and then we'll move to planting them in a row just by seed. So I've got the starts here, and these will really do well. And full sun, partial shade will be fine either way. They're very versatile plants. Now we're going to plant one row right here down the center of half of the fork hook giant and the rainbow mix. And you can see the seeds are, each one of them seeds is called a cluster, and each one of those clusters contains multiple seeds, 3, 5, 6, 7 seeds, and that's why you get multiple plants when you plant one seed. So I'm going to space them here. I'm spacing them 4 inches apart. You can space them a little thinner, a little tighter, and that's halfway. So I've done all those, and then I will split the difference here, and you can see these are larger seed, but still contains the cluster. And that is how easy it is to plant Swiss chard, whether from seed or start. And again, very versatile, can be used for a variety of different dishes, and can be grown all summer long, no matter how hot the days or length of day you have. We've never had much success with growing rutabagas and turnips in the spring here in the Wisconsin Vegetable Garden Gardens. We've attempted it with mild success. We typically start them in the ground from seed around August 1st, middle of August, to get a fall harvest. Rutabagas take 90 days to reach maturity, and turnips take 60 days. Well, we're going to try something different this year by using this raised bed here, 4 foot by 4 foot area, to grow turnips and see if in 60 days we can actually get some spring turnips, and then we'll plant more in the fall. I'm not going to use the front 4 by 4 because that's going to go in a different crop's going to go there. So with this here, I'm spacing these rows approximately 6 inches apart and 1/4 to 1/2 inch deep. Again, we don't have to make this scientific based. If the seeds are a little deeper than what they're recommended to be planted, it's perfectly fine. They will find that soil, they will grow upwards, they will germinate, they want to grow. And I'm going to space these seeds about 4 inches apart because I don't want to thin, and we want to think of the end result here in 60 days. A bulb that is about the size of a baseball. So we want to figure, keep that in mind, that would be one bulb. Space, that would be another bulb. So we want to have just about enough spacing between the two bulbs for your fingers, because if they grow too close together, they'll feel resistance and they will inhibit the growth of the neighboring plant, and also can rob each other of nutrients. So we want to take, seeds are just are very small, so we might have to do some thinning here, which is minimal to the planting here. Okay, so we'll take and try to space these again every 4 inches, which means 1, 2, 3, 4 to 5 seeds per row, which is fine for spring. We plant heavier in the fall, and we'll see how this works out. I spilled some seeds there, so I'm just going to have to thin there, obviously. Space them out a little bit. It happens. Now, with it being in this bed here, we don't have to mark, but there are several different varieties of turnips that you can grow. If you particular about where and what and how, then you want to mark them. We're not going to. We've got them planted next to the Swiss Chard, and there'll be beets in that portion of the bed, so we just cover it up. We can mulch them when they germinate. They'll germinate in about 7 to 14 days. So spring turnips, something that we've not tried or not been successful at, but we're hopefully with this good certified leaf compost in a raised bed, we can make that happen this year and get about 15 turnips. Thanks for joining me. Join me again next time for more organic gardening and food preserving. I'm Joy Barrett, and this has been the Wisconsin Vegetable Gardener.
For more information, please visit thewisconsinvegetablegardener.com.